Mom life can be chaotic, crazy, and overwhelming as you give and care for everyone else but you. Well, it's time to take back you and turn up the spice in your life. Welcome to Spicy Mom Life Podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Johnson, CEO and founder of Spicy Mom Life. As a single mom of two myself, I'm here to teach you how to step out of the box that society has put you in so that you can start living a truly fulfilled, authentic, empowered life beyond just motherhood. We talk all things motherhood, sex, life, relationships, and more. And I do mean more. This is not your everyday vanilla mom chats. Expect things to get spicy AF. So let's get to it. Welcome back to Spicy Mom Life. Today, we're going to jump into empowerment. Like, really, what is that? Because as I've discovered recently, some have a different idea of kind of what that is. And so I just wanted to dive into what it is and what it means within the context of the Spicy Mom Life podcast. So, what is empowerment? By definition, empowerment is the authority or power given to someone to do something. So, really, that's a vague statement. However, the fact that, like, when I share about Spicy Mom Life and the podcast and what I do for coaching, the big overarching goal is to empower you, to empower women, moms especially, to do and be whoever, whatever the fuck you want. And yes, we talk about a lot of different things on this podcast in regards to that some people might be like, oh, wait, that's not what I was expecting. That's partly on purpose and partly, I think, just a good sign that a lot of this stuff is just not talked about nearly enough, right? This and this goes back so far, so far. So much of this stuff, if it were a guy talking about it, the perspective from society as a whole would be totally different than me sharing about it, and especially me sharing about it as a mom, a single mom. Like, this is not stuff that moms are supposed to be doing, supposed to be talking about. And I disagree with that on so many levels. We are in this place in society around the world where women are trying to step out of this box, this stigma, this crap that we've been put in, and we're getting shoved back into it. And I don't want to get in deep into the politics of it, but there's so many things that just like currently in this last year that are going on that are at the core ways of the patriarchal society trying to disempower women. So just that topic of empowering women, that right there goes against a good portion of society right now and for, the last however many decades, right? And it's unfortunate, it's frustrating, it's infuriating, it's so many things. But that's why, a big reason why I started this podcast, because I want you to feel empowered to speak up for what it is that you want, that you desire, that you feel, that you think, and to not have all of this shame and this guilt because you're thinking differently than your mom or your grandmother. Because, like, let's face it, your family is not going to think the same as you because they're from a different generation. Some of them, maybe they are starting to, but as the majority, They're not going to. Now, if we look at, Gen Z and beyond, they're starting to come along, and that's where some of this is coming from, and starting, from a younger age. But then there's this whole other mix of us in the middle as millennials to help bridge that gap, to really do that work. Because let's face it, society is less likely to listen to a younger generation. That's just the way things are. Like some of it we should be listening to them, but we don't as a whole. So it's up to us who are, older currently, to help that bridge that gap and to help empower ourselves, our friends, our family, our kids. And that's the other big part that this comes down to. In order for things to truly change, in order for us to truly break these generational stigmas and traumas and crap, we have to not only do this for ourselves, but teach our kids, show our kids, because let's be honest, they do more of what they see than what they tell them, right? So, with that being said, yes, there's going to be, quote, off the wall topics on this podcast, but that is for a couple of reasons. One, it's to help normalize this shit because it needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about. We need to take this idea that these things that are taboo are bad. They are not bad. If you are, if it is safe, legal, and consensual, that's all that really fucking matters. Everything else doesn't matter. If somebody else doesn't agree, that doesn't matter. So it's that first thing to normalize this stuff. And second, to help you feel empowered to explore these things and get out of this box and realize that just because you're a woman, just because you're a mom, doesn't like that doesn't exclude you from exploring all of these other things. That guys can go over, do whatever the fuck they want, and they get celebrated for it. That's not going to change unless we do something. We can't leave it up to them to change things because they don't care. I mean, if we're being real, it's not, and it's not their responsibility. It is our responsibility to take back our power. Don't, it's not, I don't want us to be like, hey, can you give me back my power? No, the power is in you. You don't need anybody to give you anything. You have it right now. But we have not been brought up that way. Society does not emphasize that. So I'm helping to emphasize it. You have the power in you. You just need to recognize it and utilize it and stop giving a fuck about what other people think and what other people say and what other people do. They are not living your life. Until more of us stop giving a fuck and start living life for you instead of for everybody else, we're not going to get out of this box. You're going to be stuck in it. And I don't know about you, but being stuck in a box is pretty fucking boring, pretty fucking limiting when there's so much else out there. And there's others who, like myself, was closeted in all of this stuff for so many years because I didn't feel like it was okay. Like, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? And, you know, it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't matter. But that takes some work to get to a point where you don't care. And that's a big part of what I coach on is helping you get to that point. But you have to first be like, okay, I'm done caring what other people think. I'm going to do what the fuck I want. And I'm going to talk about it and I'm going to teach it and help spread this out because I can only do so much by you listening to this, by you sharing this, by you talking about this, and helping to teach your kids this. It helps to really create that movement, That is my mission, to change this stigma, this that all of these things are not normal. And I despise that term normal. I really, really do. So you will not hear me use it except for to say I don't like it. Because what is normal? What is normal? Like, fuck normal. Just be you. You being you is what you're supposed to be. Not you being quote normal, not you being quote good, not you being XYZ, you being you. And a kind of a side note with that, it's funny because I came on here, I literally have no notes, but this is fun. This is the fun stuff. The side note to you being you is you have to know who you is. And a lot of us don't really know because there's so much noise and influence and crap that you just don't know until you start peeling back the layers and discovering who you are. But it takes that awareness of where you're at and realizing, I don't really know who I am. Because if when somebody comes up to you and asks you to tell them about yourself, if your first thought is that you're a mom and that you might mention your job, those are maybe some red flags. If those things are your sole identity and you can't think of anything beyond that, sometimes it is just kind of a habit to say those things. But if you don't have anything more than that you can share, you need to do some digging because you've got to be able to know who you are as you're feeling empowered. Because how are you going to get there if you don't know, right? So that's some of the work that needs to be done in order to figure out the shit to be able to step into this power that you have. But it all starts with that decision to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be. I may not know who that is, I may not know how I'm gonna get there, but damn it, I'm determined to not be stuck in this box that society has shoved me in to be like everybody else and to just be quiet and not say anything and not rock the boat and all of that shit. We need to be done with that. So, got off on another tangent. But the other, because I mentioned normal and we went, who knows where, right? So, the other part of this, like there's empowering you to do and be whoever, and then normalizing this other stuff. Normalizing I don't even want to use that word, but that's the word that people know, right? Making it okay, making it feel okay. I guess it's a better word because it is okay, but it needs to feel okay. Make it feel okay to enjoy something beyond monogamy because who the fuck decided that that's the quote norm? Who decided that? Yeah, maybe religion at some point, but do you practice that religion? Maybe. But even if you do, or like if you don't, like, why are we still following that guideline? Why? Um, the other, like the taboo stuff, the BDSM, the kink, the polyamory, the swing clubs, like those are not inherently bad. They get a bad rap because we see the stuff that's not good, but all of that is a lack of education. That's not because those things are bad. BDSM is not abusive when it's done in a healthy, consensual manner. Poly and non monogamy, it's like the opposite of cheating. Like, there's way more communication in those sorts of relationships than in most monogamous relationships, I would say, because in order for them to work, there has to be communication. And I would say a lot of them tend to be healthier because everybody is open and honest in what they want instead of being in a monogamous relationship where you are settling because that's what you're told you're supposed to do. Well, fuck what you're supposed to do. Do what you want. If you're in a monogamous relationship and you are miserable, you think you have to stay because that's what society tells you, or because you have kids, or because of this, or because of that, fuck that. They side note, like I just heard somebody talk about the fact that there's so many divorces now. Yeah, that's because people are done putting up with shit. Like, were there a lot of divorces, 20, 30 years ago? Maybe even longer? No, but that's because so many people were just dealing with what was happening that was not healthy. And that's where a lot of this other shit comes from because kids grow up in these toxic, unhealthy environments and they think, oh, okay, that's what it's supposed to be like. So I'm just going to settle for that. Or I'm going to go find another unhealthy, abusive relationship because that's what I saw growing up. So that must be okay. It's up to us to break those cycles. And then the other topic that I mentioned is like the swing clubs. Those get such a bad rap, such a bad rap. And it's so frustrating because honestly, they are, generally speaking, I can't speak to all of them because I've not been to all of them, but generally speaking, they're a safer, better environment to socialize or to have, casual hookups than a bar. And for many, many reasons. I'll have a whole topic, a whole podcast, I think, just on that because that's his own thing, right? So these things, they're not bad. And like going to a swing club, a sex club, like they're not dirty. They're I won't get down that rabbit hole. We'll save that for another episode because otherwise we'll be here for a while. So, the goal of all of this is to help you feel like you can make these choices that other people have told you that's not okay. So many of these things, you would just, your life would be so much better by having some of these things in your life, or just to feel like you can be open with them. Even if you're not suddenly, in a poly relationship, but just to feel like, oh, that might be an option. Maybe I should talk about it. Like it just taking that weight off of you to where you can feel like I can explore these things and it's okay. I don't have to feel guilty. I don't have to feel shame. I don't have to feel icky. That's the goal. So yes, empowerment as a big umbrella and all of these things underneath it. If ultimately, kink and poly and all of that ends up not being for you, that's okay. But through these stories, through what I share, through the different guests that I have on, the overarching goal is for you to feel empowered to live the life that you want because that's what you truly desire, not because that's what you feel like you should be doing, what you should desire. There are no shoulds, any like no more shoulding, no more shoulding. That needs to be out of your life. You get to live a life that is full of joy, adventure, fun, pleasure, all of those things without having to settle for this mediocrity crap. Because in the end, you are the only one that you are going to be with your entire life. So when you are at that end of life, however, whether that's 50 years, 60 years, 70, however long from now, any of the people between now and then, they're not going to feel guilty or shame or regret if didn't go explore a sex club. But if you're on that bed and you're like, oh, I really, really wanted to do that. Why didn't I do that when I could? You're the one stuck with that regret. Only you, but also only you have the power to change that. So it's time to take back that power and feel empowered to do all of any of this shit or none of this, but do it because that's what you desire, not because you feel like that's what you're supposed to do. No more of that. If you get nothing else from this episode or from any of the other episodes you ever listen to, no more shoulds, no more living because you think so and so that's what they want you to do, or because you're afraid of what they're going to say or what they're going to do. Do it because you want to do it. Granted, be safe. Like, you still need to be safe in all of that. But there's so many things you could still do within that realm of exploring, adventuring, fun, and be safe. So, no more shoulds. Live your life to its fullest. Explore the things that you desire, because that desire you have, that curiosity you have, it's there for a reason. It doesn't make you bad, it doesn't make you evil, it doesn't make you any of those negative things. It is just part of you. So as long as you're staying within that safe, healthy, legal, consensual aspect, explore it. Find out the things that you enjoy that you've, been avoiding. If you're like, okay, this sounds great, but I don't know where to start, then that's where I come in. That's where you can DM me and we can figure out how can I support you? Because I have a variety of different options at various times, depending on what fits you and what I have availability for. If this is something that speaks to you, that you please share it. I would even love it if you would tag me so I can see how we are spreading this word to empower women, to empower moms to live for you and not everybody else. Look forward to chatting with you guys on the next episode. If there are specific topics that you want to hear or specific things that just bother the crap out of you in this lifestyle as a mom, DM me. There is no topic off limits on this podcast. We all things. So feel free to drop them in my DMs. I'm happy to talk about it. If I don't know about it, I will find a guest to bring them on and they can talk about it. So see you on the next one. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. It not only helps me know you're enjoying the show, but it helps more listeners like you find the show. Wishing you all the pleasures. Until next time.